Welcome to the Herd's official YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out the Colin Cowherd podcast, all of our NFL instant reactions, and more football content.
I would term Baker Mayfield's relationship with me, we're frenemies, is that if I saw him, I would be like, hey, what are you doing? And he'd be like, hey, good, how you doing? And then we go our separate way. I think I like him more than he likes me, but I've talked about him a lot. So Baker Mayfield, I swear he listens to our show. Yesterday, or a couple days ago, he's talking about the critics. Yeah, I wonder who that is. The critics who say he's a little bit of a changed man.
I told you guys that I try and not get too high, not get too low, which is something that I was not doing early on in my career. But, early on in my career, it's looked as cocky, immature. Now it's moxie, he's a dog. So it's same different day. Just as long as you play well, they change the narrative. But you just got to be yourself, and I've always been like that.
Okay, first of all, Baker Mayfield's too smart to not get wiser as he ages. He's a wiser version of Baker. Now, I do think, and I've said this multiple times, Baker's mostly still Baker. He's a smarter version, a little wiser, because he's too smart not to be. We all grow and get smarter. I mean, that's just that dumb guys don't get smarter. Still banging their head on the wall at 45. Baker's smart. And so the difference is the environments. Cleveland is cold, impulsive owner, bitter because of all the losing, and not really a supportive media. Tampa's got a better infrastructure, better owners, great GM. They're inviting. Cleveland felt like they were poking him in the ribs. Tampa feels like they open every door from him. Office door, car door, they're just opening doors. From Hugh Jackson, a little bit of ego, to Todd Bowles, no ego. So it doesn't feel like he's battling. He felt like he was constantly under siege and battling. So I don't buy this. It's like, I'll give you an example. People that are fiery and intense. Take Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's fire didn't work early or late. I mean, he scored a bunch of points, but he didn't win a lot. Early Chicago, late Washington. You know where Michael won? When he had the intellect of Steve Kerr next to him, and then the Zen master, the psychologist in Phil Jackson, and kind of a chill Robin, Scottie Pippen. Veterans, B.J. Armstrong, super smart, Horace Grant. Michael scored a lot of points early and late, but his intensity wore people out early and late. It wasn't until he got the right supporting cast that he scored and won games, because Michael's intimidating and Michael's intense. And that's the truth about people with big, fiery, confident personalities. Fit becomes essential. And Cleveland was kind of intimidated by it, didn't know what to do with it. And Tampa's like, we're looking for a pirate. It's Ybor City. It's cocktails early. They've always had talent. They don't have a meddling owner. Tampa's a great fit. Tampa empowers his personality. It felt like Cleveland was intimidated by it and poked at it. So Baker hasn't changed that much. He's changed a little bit. He's too smart not to have changed. And he's always going to have fire. That's his personality. I mean, I thought it was great in Seattle when he was talking he was talking trash to all these fans. Baker's going to do that as a grandpa at his sons and his grandkids, peewee games. That's who Baker is. That's his personality. He's an S-talker, and that's great. And then after he won the game, he went back to those people and talked trash. He put it on his Instagram. That's who Baker is, but he's a little wiser. And when you have that kind of personality, support becomes, the people around you, the surrounding environment becomes incredibly important.
Today's show brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. The Hard Rock Bet sportsbook app's clean, easy to use, lets you see all the top trends, what everybody else is betting on the weekend. So we head into Week 6 NFL slate. If you're still deciding what to bet on, or just want an edge others don't have, check out the Hard Rock Bet app. The Stats Hub breaks down the latest line moves and kind of surprising trends. You don't want to miss it. You can find live odds right in the Hard Rock Bet app. If you haven't placed your first bet on Hard Rock Bet, it's not too late. Place your first $5 bet. If you win, you'll score $150 in bonus bets on top of your payout. So, plus on Sunday on Hard Rock Bet, you can get a Sunday parlay boost for the games. So boost a same game parlay or SGP max so your bet pays extra winnings. Then you get to run it back on Monday night with another profit boost. So there's new promos daily. So if you're listening to this later, just open the app, check out what we've got any day of the week. It's great.
Yesterday I said Jared Goff has had 7 coordinators. He's been really good with 6 of them. The first was a disaster. The whole staff was. And I said Jared Goff's absolutely going to be a Hall of Famer. Guy is still in his prime. Jared Goff does not get hurt, despite his kind of tall and lanky frame. I would say he's got at least, because his strength is throwing the football, and quarterbacks can throw the football. Drew Bledsoe could grab a football today and throw a 35-yard out. They lose their legs. So Jared Goff has got 4 to 5 years of prime left because he throws. He's like Steph Curry. Steph will be able to shoot when he's 50. He'll just lose his legs. Goff's a thrower. And so, when I said this yesterday, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, people just freaked out. So since 2017, 8 years is a pretty big span with 7 coordinators. Number 1 in the league in completions, passing yards, and big pass plays. Number 2 in passing touchdowns and wins. 5 playoff appearances, 2 conference championships. Again, he's still in his prime. But the 2 reasons why it's so obvious. If he was a flashy player, you'd all have him in the Hall of Fame, but he's not. So there's an aesthetic here. He's kind of boring. But if you think about why doesn't everybody get Jared Goff? Number 1 is first impressions matter, and his first season was brutal. 0 for 7. McVay wasn't there yet. He looked like a complete bust. He didn't know which direction the sun set. Remember that? You got to see it on Hard Knocks. So you watch this disaster. First impressions are really powerful. And the second reason you're all struggling with it is Matt Stafford won a Super Bowl the first year in L.A. McVay punted on Goff. First impressions are really powerful. Matt Stafford's first year in L.A. Jared Goff's first year. Powerful moments. Let me remind you, Goff was a number 1 pick and Stafford was a number 1 pick. Okay? And people forget this. The Rams wanted a reboot at quarterback. So did the Lions. Brad Holmes is the least talked about great personnel guy in the last 10 years in this league. He does not miss on his top picks in the draft. The GM. He does not miss on trades. Brad Holmes is great. What was his first move? To move off Stafford and to go get Goff. So the big game hunting GM in Detroit's like, yeah, I'll take Goff, and the Rams will pay some of the salary. He's turned those picks with Goff into home runs like Jahmyr Gibbs. But I think people forget that it's not linear. Jeter, Kobe, Elway, that's storybook. That doesn't happen much. One team, all those memories, loyal forever. Brady, Belichick wanted about 2 years before he went to Tampa. Montana ends with the Chiefs. Peyton Manning ends with Denver. LeBron's had 3 separate moves. That's typical. Jeter, Kobe, and Elway, that's storybook. That stuff doesn't happen. Michael Jordan, his early teammates and coaches didn't like him, and they couldn't stand him in Washington. He got Phil. It all worked. So here's the other thing to remember. That Goff went to a total rebuild in Detroit. And Stafford went to McVay, Andrew Whitworth, Cooper Kupp, Von Miller. Yet, since the trade, look at the numbers between Goff and Stafford. And I love Stafford. Goff's better at everything. Wins, yards, touchdowns, fewer picks, passer rating. And that includes the rebuild years in Detroit. Stafford took over, baked, ready to pull out of the oven and consume. And Goff's numbers are still better. And we think the Rams know what they're doing. So the Rams were better initially, had kind of a quasi 1-year rebuild, hit on a bunch of defensive draft picks. Now, Stafford's had the better defense, I would say, on average. Goff's had, to me, they've both had great receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka, Cooper Kupp, now Devontae Adams. They've both had good skilled people. Both have good running backs. But if you look at the numbers since the trade, and that includes Goff having to go through a 2-year rebuild, Goff's numbers are better across the board. So, but I think it just first impressions are incredibly powerful. And that first year, 0-7, and it was on Hard Knocks, and then the Rams punt Goff, and then Stafford comes in and win, people just, they can't, like, put their arms around it. If Jared Goff had a little wiggle in his step, if he moved, I'm not saying like Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray, but if he moved like even Bo Nix, everybody would be like, oh, yeah, it's a Hall of Famer. Goff is the last pure pocket guy we have drafted as a number one pick. It's interesting how it works. I mean, Caleb Williams, I think it's fair to say, has struggled with basic operations with the Bears. And people are like, they always lean to the positive. I like what I see. It is getting very interesting. Goff's not as much fun to watch. The guy is second in wins, first in everything else. And everybody's like, I just don't see it. I've said this about Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook, you can't take your eyes off him. He's so hyper athletic, but he is a guard that can't shoot, right? Like John Stockton, kind of boring, could shoot and did a lot of dirty work. But Stockton wasn't as much fun to watch. So, and that's just a lot of it. Goff is still in his prime. And because he is not like an NBA shooter, he's going to age well. Jared Goff's going to age well. He's got a great GM. They're always going to have good players around him. Amon St. Brown prime, Penei Sewell prime. They just drafted interior linemen. 2 of them look really good. J-Mac, what are your friends texting now?
No, I didn't look at my phone. I was trying to come up with a comp for Goff because you think he's such a lock. So I think the best I can come up with is Phillip Rivers. Really, really good quarterback, great regular season numbers, longevity. I mean, he played 17 seasons.
How many conference championships did Phillip get to?
No MVPs.
Yeah.
No Super Bowl appearances, but he had a 5-7 playoff record. Goff is 4-5 currently. So, I mean, Goff is on track, but
Goff is having much more postseason success.
I mean, 4-5 versus 5-7.
No,
so
but I mean, he's getting to
conference
conference championships.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, that's, it's like Andy Reid was great before Kansas City.
But do you think Rivers is a lock?
No, I don't think.
Okay, so do you think Goff is that much better than Phillip Rivers? The numbers are impressive.
It's not about who's better. It's about it. A lot of it's productivity. And if you go 8 years into Phillip Rivers' career, did he have the most wins in the league? Did he have the most big plays in the league? I mean, Phillip was great. No, you'll never argue. I'll never bang on Phillip Rivers. I loved Phillip Rivers' game. He wasn't very athletic, less athletic than Goff, actually.
Yeah.
But at the end, especially. Yeah. But when you start putting up these numbers, it's a classic example. If you keep succeeding, like anybody, I mean, let's be honest. A lot of Powerball winners either go broke or lose a majority of the money.
Right.
Some people do get like a great hand in life. They get rich parents, they're trust fund kids. But to me, it's always been about what do you do with it? Like, what do you do if let's say tomorrow you win the Powerball at LA, so you get about 5 of it. Okay, can you turn the 5 into 25? Most people can't.
I could.
They turn the 5 into 1, right? Or less than that. So my point is, Jared Goff got McVay and Andrew Whitworth. Okay, that was a great break. And he got to a Super Bowl. And then he got a great GM. But they were awful when he got there. And he keeps winning.
Yeah. The best case for Goff is, man, he got kicked to the curb by McVay, right? That was harsh. He went to a Super Bowl. And he didn't give up or throw in the towel or stink. He kind of thrived. And I think that's great. To me, it's a little reach to say Hall of Fame. I definitely am a fan. I think he's been outstanding. He's got a little work to do.
I'll ask you this. Detroit gets to a Super Bowl. Jared Goff, with still 5 years of prime, will be to 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, Russell Wilson only got 2.
Okay, but again, Russell's a prime example.
Yes, that's why I brought him up.
Let's go back to the beginning of my argument. Who did Russell succeed with? Kind of one group of players.
Right.
By the end, Pete wanted him out, Tomlin wanted him out, Peyton wanted him out, and Daboll's not interested. So Russell had, like Goff, this really good run. But did he succeed with multiple people? And that's the start of this rant.
But that's what
part of what makes Goff great is 7 coordinators and 6 he's crushed with.
What hurts Russell Wilson is he struggled in Denver, he butted heads with Peyton.
Struggles Nice.
Then he was in Pittsburgh. That, lasted a year. Now he's in the Giants. He's been benched before September was finished. So
if you're close, like one of the arguments for Phillip Rivers, it actually helps him in this way. When he was at his oldest and the least athletic quarterback in the league, and he was, and Phillip would at first to admit it, he goes to Indianapolis, goes 11-5, goes to Buffalo for a playoff game, and they were in that thing.
Covered the spread. I remember.
So Phillip Rivers, old Phillip, got out of comfortable, went to kind of rebuilding Indianapolis. The roster Indy had then is not nearly as good as the roster now for Daniel Jones. This roster now in Indy is legit. Top 10, top 7 roster. That wasn't. 11-5, go to Buffalo, toe-to-toe with Josh Allen. And I remember that game, you're like, this is a real – and that was when Buffalo was at the height of their powers. So how you end when you're borderline matters. Goff's going to age really well. I saw something. I don't think there's trouble in paradise. Chip Kelly went to Ohio State, won a natty, went back to the NFL. He's now the offensive coordinator for the Raiders. The Raiders are going to be a fourth-place team. They have Geno Smith. Everybody predicted that. I don't think Geno's a great fit anywhere. He's a turnover-laden quarterback, and Pete hates that. But Pete Carroll was talking about the run game. He wants more of it.
We got to run the football better, more. And we're going to continue to work at it and see if we can't, continue to bring it to life. The running game has looked well in order right now. We needed to get more of them. That's part of it. That's just mixing football. That's how you do it. We don't want to ever rely on the quarterback has to do the whole show and sit in a shotgun and throw the football. Never coach that way. And so we have to mix our stuff so that we can use our play action game.
Yeah, Pete wants Chip to run the football more. That's why they picked Ashton Genty. That is Pete. Pete likes defense in the run game. Geno Smith. They wanted Matt Stafford. Stafford chose the Rams. I think Pete wanted Sam Darnold. Reportedly, not me, this is reported, Tom Brady didn't want Sam Darnold. So I just think you're limited with Geno Smith, but Pete knew him, was familiar, but you're limited. He's going to throw a lot of picks, and it's like a lot. So my question with Pete is not energy. I had no problem with a hire. It's that his last few defenses in Seattle were no good, and Mike McDonald took over, and they're really good. Now, some of that's John Snyder's draft picks. They've hit in a lot of them. But, Jesse Minter shows up to an awful Chargers defense. It is good by week 3 the next year. Mike McDonald, Seattle, overnight, defense is better. So there's an argument that Pete hasn't reinvented himself defensively, and that's why he was let go. I have no problem with Pete. They spent most of their draft picks on offense. The TCU receiver's been, third down guy. Genty's really good. Some offensive line picks that are okay. But I think the question with the Raiders is, do you get the magic of Pete Carroll's defense, which we really haven't seen since 2017? It's not the offense. Geno Smith, lower your standards. It's not going to be great. Colton Miller's hurt. Brock Bowers banged up. The offense is just going to be okay. Pete needs to get that defense humming, and the Jesse Minters and Mike McDonalds have been able to do that very, very quickly. And I kind of feel like one of the reasons Pete, in the end in Seattle, his side of the ball, and that's where I always judge coaches, what are you doing with your side of the ball? Because I don't blame you if there's missed draft picks. I don't blame you if there's a mediocre to bad quarterback. What are you doing with the Raiders' defense? And right now, actually, it's regressed from Antonio Pierce's defense. Some of that may be injuries, but that's what I'm looking for with the Raiders, the magic on the defensive side, especially in that division with Herbert, Bo Nix, Peyton, and Harbaugh, and Andy Reid and Mahomes. All right, we go to Greg Cosell, 46 years, NFL Films. I would argue this week, and people are pushing back. I said, you can mark it down. With 7 coordinators over the last, since 2017, Jared Goff is number 1 or number 2 at everything in the NFL. 7 coordinators, McVay, Dan Campbell, rebuild in Detroit, and people are like, come on, Hall of Fame. And I think some of it is his first year was a bust, and strong memories, first impressions, and then Stafford's first year in L.A., he won a Super Bowl. It's like, oh, McVay punted him. But if you go to Stafford and Goff's numbers, all right, since that trade, and remember, Goff had a rebuild for 2 years in Detroit. Goff's numbers are better. When you look at Detroit, does Goff deserve more or less credit? Is it just about the run game, the O-line, or do you watch Goff and do you say, that's an elite quarterback?
I would lean more toward that. I mean, Goff, in many ways, Colin, and you know this, Goff is somewhat of a dinosaur the way people like to talk about quarterbacks now, because he's a pocket quarterback. He's not a playmaker. He's not going to leave the pocket and make those special plays. So Goff, as most quarterbacks should be, is a function of a system, and he can execute a certain system at a really high level, and he can make throws within that given system. What he does, I believe, better than any quarterback in the NFL is throw the ball between the numbers. He's a window thrower at, let's say, 16 to 25 yards. Those are very difficult throws to make in the National Football League. And I think he's the best at it. But again, he's, in many respects, people look at the Mahomes, the Allens, the obviously Lamar, even Burrow, when he's healthy, moves around quite a bit, is a better athlete than a lot of people might think. These are the quarterbacks we look to now, and Goff's not that guy. He's essentially a pure pocket quarterback, but at an extremely high level.
So I thought Mahomes was really, he didn't see Devin Lloyd. Sometimes you don't see in cluttered, congested areas. Right. You just don't see a linebacker. And so I was more troubled with Trevor Lawrence's fumble at the 1 or his pick. I mean, Brady threw a pick 6 in a Super Bowl. Mahomes did not see Devin Lloyd. He did not see him. But no, I think the last 2 weeks with a bunch of young receivers and new guys, I don't know what the film says. I think Mahomes is really dialed in right now. And again, this is not a great O-line. They have no running game. Right. They don't have a number 1 receiver. I think he's playing exceptionally well. What's the film say?
You know what, Colin? It's a very odd offense to watch because there's very little rhythm and timing to the offense. There's a lot of short throws. Those obviously have some rhythm. When I say short throws, within maybe 6 yards of the line of scrimmage. Occasionally, they'll take a deep shot. There's almost no timing and rhythm intermediate passing game. We just spoke about Jared Goff. There's none of that with the offense for the Chiefs. And we haven't seen that maybe for a year and a half. And then Mahomes makes special plays. His spatial awareness is as good as anybody we've ever seen. His ability to move away from people, keep his eyes downfield with unbelievable vision may be the best we've ever seen. But from an offensive conceptual standpoint, you just don't see a lot of rhythmic throws, as I said, let's say between 15 and 25 yards. And I don't know why. I can't answer as to why you don't see that, what the issue is, but you just don't see it. It's very much a random offense with, can Mahomes make plays? And he's so good at it, and he's so good on third down, particularly using his legs, that it's a tough offense to defend because defenses have to change the way they play.
So I want to talk about Eagles-Broncos, and I'll start with Bo Nix, who Vic Fangio had his number. And then in the fourth quarter, between the play calling, Bo Nix get the ball out quick, suddenly Denver got into a rhythm, and it was really pretty, and it was chunk, chunk, chunk. What did Bo Nix and Sean Payton do in the fourth that they couldn't do early?
I don't know if it was so much that they did anything dramatically different. I mean, obviously the 3rd and 15 play was great. I mean, that was a big-time play, and that came against zone coverage. But in the fourth quarter, he also hit Cortland Sutton on 2 back shoulder fades where Quinyon Mitchell had great coverage, and it was just good on good, and Nix and Sutton beat Mitchell. Those were just back shoulder. That was matchup football. You're seeing one of them right now. They started to run the ball a little bit, which they couldn't do early in the game. Nix just hung in there and played. I mean, I didn't see, watching that tape, I didn't come away feeling like, wow, all of a sudden Bo Nix turned it on and he played great. When you get, in the past game, and you know this, Colin, you get matchup football or you get schematic football where the scheme presents a clean, defined read for the quarterback. But you also get matchup football where it's one-on-one and your guy wins and sometimes he doesn't win. I mean, Nix made a great throw on the second play of the game to Sutton on a vertical route where he got on top of Mitchell and Sutton dropped it. So these things happen as well. But Sutton's he's a tough cover, and they put Mitchell on him, and Sutton won in the fourth quarter.
So Philadelphia is not doing anything particularly well. So let's just concentrate on this. I would argue, week 1, they didn't even throw to A.J. Brown. But in the last 4 weeks, he's getting as many targets statistically as Justin Jefferson. So they're trying to get him the ball, and it's still not working. Rams the exception. So why don't A.J. and Jalen Hurts work consistently? Because they're trying. The targets tell you they're trying.
Well, first of all, let's start with what they have to be based on what the quarterback is and what he isn't, which they know in the building, by the way. The quarterback has limitations in terms of where he can throw the ball effectively. He's very good throwing it outside the numbers. We saw that in the Rams game a few weeks ago when, starting in the second half, they did go 1-on-1 to A.J. Brown versus the Rams corners, who are not high-level corners. But one thing Jalen Hurts has never done particularly well, he's not a window thrower. He doesn't throw the ball between the numbers at, as I said, we were talking earlier, 15 to 25 yards. In fact, he's got the fewest attempts of any quarterback in the league throwing the ball between 15 and 25 yards between the numbers. He doesn't see the game that way. They have to be a running football team, and right now they're not running the ball at all. And the O-line is hurt, it's banged up, and it's not played anywhere near as well as it has the last 3-4 years, when it was arguably the best in the league. I mean, they gave the ball to Barkley 5 times in the first half last week in a game they were winning, and in the second half they gave it to him 1 time. They have to be a running football team. They are not a passing team. Even last year, winning a Super Bowl, they were not a passing team. Jalen Hurts had 10 games last year, Colin, where he threw for less than 200 yards. One of the best, not the best, one of the best things about Hurts is he never turns it over. That's critical for how they play. But as far as the passing game, it has limitations. You know this. Every coach plays to his quarterback. So when you watch a team and see what they do, think about what they do and then think about the quarterback.
So there are 15 quarterbacks right now in the NFL with a passer rating over 100. There were 6 2 years ago.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I think there's a lot of good offensive coaches. I think there's a lot of zone. So for a lot of these veteran guys like a Darnold or a Baker or a Dak, you know, it's throw it to a spot, Jared Goff, and they're really good at that. It's a very much a zone league.
Right.
But, I mean, Dak's pretty amazing. CeeDee's out. I would argue they don't even have a dependable number 2 receiver. It's more 3s. Their tight end's okay.
Right.
O-line still feels like, to me, it's a little patchwork, and it's okay. The film may say something different. The run game is fine. It's not special. And here's Dak putting up big numbers with a bunch of kind of number 3 receivers and solid tight ends, not special. I mean, all these years and all these snaps, we didn't love the staff that was hired. Well, maybe they're better than we thought, but what does the film say on Dak? Because is there a quarterback in the league doing more without special surrounding talent?
Well, I think what Dak, and we talked about this, I remember we had this discussion 2-3 years ago, what Dak has evolved into as he's advanced in his career and had a number of leg injuries is he is an efficient distributor of the football. He's a ball distributor. He's an executor. He's very, very good at it. That's what his game is. And when you put him with a Brian Schottenheimer, who's actually very good orchestrating an offense, you get an efficient pass game. But the one place where I might disagree with you a little bit is I think their run game has been better than you think. Javonte Williams is starting to look more like he did coming out of North Carolina when he was in his first year with the Broncos before all the leg injuries. He's, I think, 4th or 5th in the league in rushing. He's pretty high up, and he's averaging close to 6 yards a carry. And their run game now is very, very viable. It's a meaningful, significant part of what they do offensively.
Okay, I want to talk about, first of all, a quarterback who I liked a lot, who has grown quickly, and then a team I like a lot that I think people are surprised by. So let's start with Drake May. Listen, I predicted they'd make the playoffs. I'm a huge fan of Vrabel, but let me be clear. I like Drake May a lot, but in the last 2 to 3 weeks, he's taken it to a different level, and I still don't think they have elite personnel. I like their backs, but I don't think they have elite offensive personnel. Something has clicked. What is it?
Well, it's funny because I actually think he's played this way from week one. It's just they've won a couple of games recently, and then makes it appear that he's playing better. I think right from the beginning of this season, Colin, he's been outstanding in areas you never expect a second-year quarterback to be good at. That's on third down. He's been outstanding on third down. He's been outstanding versus pressure, and they're starting to throw the ball more on first down, which is always the best down to throw because you get much more predictable front looks, you get more predictable coverage looks, you just get a better feel for the quarterback when you call plays and it's 1st and 10 or normal down and distance situations. So I would argue, and I agree with you 100%, I think he's been really good from week one. It's just they had a big win on national TV on the road in a very difficult place to play when he was really, really efficient. So it just made it seem like he's playing better recently. But I think he's played like this since week one.
So a team that, and in this league, when I had text an occasional general manager, is that you can do so many things right as a GM, but if you don't have the quarterback right, people for years have been on Chris Ballard in Indy, and I've been saying, I follow the draft. I like their roster. I think it's good. I think they have good weapons. I think their O-line, you can tell me about the film says, but I think their O-line is way above average. And all of a sudden they get Daniel Jones playing well, and I'm like, okay, they've had the roster. They had the Rams beat 2 weeks ago. They've got the players, but I think all of us are holding our breath on Daniel Jones. He looks a little stronger. He looks more confident. His body language is better. What is it with Steichen and Daniel Jones? Because I don't think it's one of these, September, early October runs that Ryan Fitzpatrick had, a couple of those. It's like, no, I think this is going to last. I think Daniel's pretty good now.
I think, Colin, this speaks to the marriage of coaching and quarterback play, which I've just come to believe is so, so important. Because when I watch this team, I see Shane Steichen really presenting Jones with his route concepts with a lot of clean, defined reads. So he's comfortable turning the ball loose to the primary receiver. And one thing for people to notice with Daniel Jones is rarely, and you saw this a lot with the Giants, obviously, but you rarely see him get stuck in the pocket where it seems as if he has nowhere to throw the football. He drops back and he's decisive. And he's decisive because the receiver that he looks at first, the primary, is available to him. And I think that the scheming of an offense, of a pass game, the way a coach calls a game throughout the game has so much to do with quarterbacks. When we see a quarterback throw to a relatively open receiver, and Jones has done a lot of that this year, we always say that's great quarterback play. But really, he's being set up for great quarterback play. And I think the marriage has been outstanding, and Jones has been so good, especially on first down, where, again, we just spoke about that. They are really, really good throwing the ball on first down.
There are two teams in this league that I like a lot, and they're both very young, Green Bay and Seattle. And Green Bay, as young teams are prone to do, Green Bay is struggling to figure out how to close out games against inferior teams, Cleveland, Dallas. Seattle, young team, second youngest offense, couldn't close it out, although they were on the doorstep against the Niners, and they couldn't close it out against Tampa. So I think Green Bay and Seattle are very good. They may be a year away. I don't think the Packers are. But when you watch Sam Darnold in those losses to San Francisco or Tampa, does it make you think, well, turnovers, not quite good? That's same old Sam. Or are you watching Sam and you're thinking this is an elite top 10, 12 quarterback?
I would tend more toward what you just said at the end of that. That interception he threw last week, that was a classic Todd Bowles pressure, and they got in clean. Winfield got in clean, and then he threw it and it hit the helmet of a defensive lineman. Now, I don't know if it would have been complete. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't have been, but it probably wouldn't have been an interception. But Darnold, Darnold, and you've always liked him. He's a big physical guy. He throws the ball really well. Again, you're dealing now with a system where he seems more decisive than ever. And that's the key for him because he's not most quarterbacks, but it's more true of some than others, and it's true of Darnold. The longer he stays in the pocket, the worse he is. So you have to design your system and your route concepts against anticipated coverages so that he can hit that back foot and deliver the football. So they've been able to do that really, really well, and he's performed, I think, at a really high level. And the other important point, Colin, he's only been sacked 6 times in 5 games. Their O-line this year, Charles Cross at the left tackle, a top 10 pick, is clearly having the best year of his career.
Yeah, he came out highly coveted. All right, we're gonna next couple of minutes to wrap it up. We're gonna talk Baker Mayfield.
Right.
So I mean, let's face it, Tampa is a big play offense, and they're doing it with this unbelievable rookie. But what I like about Baker is Baker's always had great confidence and trust in himself. And now, even without Mike Evans or Bucky Irving, like, he's got some weapons. Ibuka looks like Rookie of the Year stuff. He's a sensational talent. So this was one of the best, most entertaining games in the last couple years. It was epic. Yeah. It was an electric game on a beautiful Pacific Northwest Sunday. What did you see from Baker?
Well, I think there were 10 incompletions in the whole game by both quarterbacks. It was crazy. Baker's at the point in his career where he's incredibly decisive because he throws, and I know we've talked about this over the years, he throws a great ball, a way better ball than people might think because he's not a big, imposing-looking guy. Like, he's not like Jared Goff, who just looks big and imposing, but he has a really good arm, throws a great ball. He's always been very aggressive throwing it, too, with that mindset that he has. And as you get older, I think he just knows, just from playing, just from experience, getting more and more at bat, so to speak, he just has a better feel for when I can turn it loose, when I don't have to turn it loose. But he turns it loose when necessary, and he's got a big arm, and he can make really difficult throws, and he doesn't shy away from any difficult throw when the situation demands it. And again, I think he's now with the same system, even though Liam Cohen isn't there. It's essentially the same system as it was, and you can tell he's extremely comfortable. And there are certain throws always that stand out to me where it's a combination of scheme and the throw.
Greg Cosell, Thursday as always. We get smarter. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Colin.
Emeka Egbuka is currently a sizable favorite to an offensive rookie of the year, and they go 19th from my GM, Jason, who's just done a terrific job in Tampa for a long time.
They get Mike Evans back soon. Bucky Irving will be back. That's a dangerous Tampa. I mean, I can't see them in the Super Bowl, but they're going to be contenders in the NFC, right?
There are certain things. They have a good enough O-line. There are certain things that really matter in January football. Like speed is always important, but Miami was really fast. Speed's less important in January. Efficiency, power becomes, because it's bad weather and it's windy. And you need like tough, resilient, physical, powerful players. That's why, you start looking at teams that win and players that really become hallmark players. What's great about Egbuka is you can run him deep or you can run him underneath. He can do multiple patterns. He's not your classic really fast. If he was fast, he would have been a top 7 pick because his game was flawless, but he's not a burner. He's just a total route tree, mature adult. He's one of those guys like Amon St. Brown. Rookie year, you're like, you think he's 33. No diva, all grown up.
Yeah, you don't expect a lot of that. Strangely, the biggest question with Tampa might be their MVP candidate, Colin. I know we love Baker. He's having a great year. He's among the league leaders in turnover-worthy plays. And, so far they've broken his way. They're winning games at the buzzer by 3. Colin, we know at some point that is going to stop. And what happens when they're losing those coin flip games, not as dangerous.
This was going to be a positive Baker day.
I was doing my best.
You really pivoted to the negativity right there.